Howdy Hexers, Infamous Neo here. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Scars of War spoiler that has me the most excited. In fact, it may be my favourite card design in Hex to date. The card I speak of is called Illusory Form. It's a 2-cost, quick constant, with a single Sapphire threshold. It reads deploy, void target troop you control, and sacrifice this, put each troop voided by this into play exhausted. On the surface, its concept is very simple. It's a card that will take a troop you control, void it, and then return it to play. The way it's designed, however, makes it so much more than that. Let's break it down and take a look at exactly what I mean by that. Voiding a card and returning it into play is an amazing way to rebuy on your deploy effects. Cards like Carnosaurus and Crocosaur that battle a troop when they come into play can be reutilized if they are already on the board, battling troops the first time they enter play, and then battling a whole new set of troops when they are returned to play later on. Silver Talon Adjudicator is another effect you might consider using Illusory Form with. Drawing cards and gaining health is super powerful, and doing it twice is doubly so. Really, any card that gives you straight up card advantage with its deploy effect is going to be great, even if it's just creating a couple of 1/1 troops like Greenpaw Emancipator. What is true for deploy effects is also true for effects that trigger when a card leaves play. Phoenix Guard Messenger lets you draw a card when it leaves play in any way, so voiding it will net you a card if you're in a pinch, plus you still get to draw a card if it ever dies by natural causes. Using Illusory Form with a card like Chrono Demon allows more precise control of what is on the board by giving you the flexibility to control when it enters play and when it leaves play. I'm not saying that Illusory Form is going to break Chrono Demon into the metagame, but it's an example of how future leave play effects could be utilized. And the final thing in this vein, returning a card to the battle from the void can trigger the effect of other cards that activate their effects when another troop enters play. This could be something like double dipping on the bonus stats of Oberon's Eulogy, or giving a troop a second wave of Inspire effects. This becomes particularly potent with cards like Highland's Magus or Legionnaire of Gawain, who also have deploy effects. Legionnaire is a very strong removal effect, potentially wiping the entire opponent's board. Now you can do it twice, and get double the stat bonuses from any Inspire effects on this guy too. Probably the second most important part of this card is that it's quick. It means it can be used to protect your own cards too. Saving a troop from removal is obviously great, but saving a troop from its demise while setting up the effects we just mentioned is far, far better. Stopping the deck stripping effect of Hero Fall is a nice bonus, and if you only have 2 troops, you can prevent the effect of an opposing Crocosaur entirely by removing one of your troops before Crocosaur is able to target. Utilization of this card in combat isn't out of the question either. While its use in combat may be mostly relevant in Limited, when you or your opponent makes a block, you can use Illusory Form to save yourself from any nasty surprises that might show themselves in the form of a combat trick or quick troops. In a lot of cases, trading this card to keep your own is going to be a preferable choice. And again, doing so while getting extra value from your deploy effects and leave play effects just reeks of power. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. The design choices of this card mean that instead of simply returning the troop to play, you retain a constant that you can sacrifice at any time to return the troop, at quick speed and for no additional cost. If we take a look at 2 of the cards we spoke about earlier with this in mind, we can see that we can utilize the effect of our Crocosaur at quick speed now. We can battle 2 troops with much more accurate and opportunistic timing. Silver Talon Adjudicator is going to love being able to come back at quick speed, waiting for a time where you can meet the requirements to get the most out of the conditional deploy effects on this card. And simply voiding a troop and returning it to play would not help you against any effect that affects all of your troops, but if your opponent plays a Lasgar's Vengeance or Extinction, Illusory Form can take that card out of danger while the effect resolves. Then once the effect is gone, you can sacrifice the constant and get back your troop. This is even going to work for you against cards that hit multiple zones, like Mass Polymorph Dingler, something that until now you could only really avoid by interrupting it. The final part of the text tells us that when the troop comes back into play, it's going to come back exhausted. This is for the most part a drawback. It limits the power of the card. You can't, for example, attack with a troop and then use Illusory Form to put it back into play, ready to use as a blocker. It also cuts some of the combo potential, not allowing you to trigger an exhaust effect twice in the same turn. The card would need speed, and there isn't much that cares about this right now. Tavish is the only example currently in the game, but these are things that could have made the card seriously bonkers in the future. It certainly isn't all bad though, some things want to be exhausted, and in Scars of War, this is especially true. If you have the resources, you can use Illusory Form to exhaust a newly played troop the turn you play it. There are certainly going to be situations where you want a Diligence effect to trigger as soon as possible. It may not be something you do often, but it really just adds to the depth of this card. All of these small strategies add up to something extremely versatile. Maybe the most common use for it with Diligence is going to be to activate Diligence on a board state where you can't swing into exhaust. As we see here, Flame Guard and Bolt Spasm can't really attack into this board state, but using Illusory Form on Flame Guard means that next turn when she readies, the opposing Ardent Crusader won't be able to block, and our troops can start getting their damage through. Once this is done once, our Flame Guard's going to be able to nullify an opponent's blocker every turn as long as we still want to swing in. Sometimes activating Diligence in a locked board state is going to be the thing that tips the balance, and this card will help with that too. This may be the least utilized part of the card, but the fact it returns all cards voided by it into play when you sacrifice it can open up the potential for combos that involve redeploying the Illusory Form itself. Using a card like Time Ripple to bounce the Illusory Form, you could potentially save more than one card at a time. Or, perhaps your combo wants you to have more than one troop ready to return when you sacrifice the constant. Potentially the most powerful way to utilize Illusory Form is by using it on a troop that has both Deploy and Diligence. While no cards exist like this naturally, at least so far. You can add a Deploy effect to a Diligence troop with Prophecy, or any card with Diligence and a major socket will allow you to add one of the two major gems that give a Deploy effect. For example, an MC Etra of Norzan with a Deploy gem could net you a second troop or action, then because it's return to play exhausted, when you kick off your turn, the Diligence will kick in, and you'll get a socketed troop from your deck to your hand. That's some incredible value, especially if you just saved MC from removal too. Looking at this card, I could see a few deck types it could really improve. Being a constant, it could put in some good work in a chant-based deck, triggering the chants themselves and rebuying the powerful effect of Lyrical Chanter to create more chants. As we mentioned earlier, Inspire has a couple of cards that really beef up the value of Illusory Form. Highland's Magus can gain additional Inspire effects if he enters play more than once, and Legionnaire of Gawain can double dip on those Inspire buffs while also clearing the opposing board away. And really, any card in an Inspire deck is going to be thankful for getting all the extra inspiration from double dipping on those buffs too. Illusory Form can rebuy deploy effects, so why not the king of all deploy effects, Replicator's Gambit? Why settle for just 6 additional troops when you can re-trigger the Gambit for a total of 12? The Gambit deck itself runs many deploy effects and loves to have cheap cards in the crypt to add Wintermoon charge powers to. Wintermoon itself generally loves this card. The kinds of troops Wintermoon decks tend to play have deploy effects ranging from Prophecy to Crocosaur. Plus, the fact that Illusory Form is cheap and sacrifices itself means that it's a great target for Wintermoon's charge power. In my opinion, Illusory Form is a masterpiece of design. It takes a simple concept and executes on that concept in such an amazingly deep and complex way. The card can be utilized very simply, but the potential for deep, complex and tactical choices to be made at every single turn is huge. And what we looked at today really just scratches the surface of how deep this rabbit hole goes. This card is one that I am sure will have its presence felt in all formats. It's not just a straight up bomb that blows the world away, but it's one of the most versatile cards to date. And it's only uncommon, so everyone can have fun with this one. Let me know in the comments what you think of Illusory Form. And thanks for watching guys, I will see you next time.